All right. Welcome, Vinny, to the Biohacker Babes podcast. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
Good morning.
morning.
Good afternoon over here.
Oh
We
yeah, that's
always have
right. East Coast.
multiple time zones. Yeah, it's always a hodgepodge here, but
Yeah.
we're very excited to chat with you about this four-letter word called pain, which is a very tricky word. We've all felt it. We all hate it. Most of us hate it. Most of us are trying to get rid of it. But we do talk a lot about pain on this podcast being a gift and a teacher and being able to listen to what it's communicating to us, which I think is a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow. They're like, wait, what? It's here to help us? How could that possibly be? But
Yeah.
you've had a literal pain to purpose story and you've created something that is helping many, many people. So I would love to hear, just to kick off, what has your relationship been to pain throughout your life?
It's a great way to start it off. My relationship with pain is probably like most people's, or it was, because that's what I was trained to have it be, which is to resist it and to reject it and to hate it. And I vilified it. I made pain to be the bad guy and the enemy. I thought pain robbed me of every bit of joy in my life. So I only knew how to fight it. I only knew how to wage war on it. And with the culture of pain being the bad guy and take these drugs to get rid of it, kill pain, end it now, be pain free for good, how could you not develop that foundational relationship with it? So especially, and I'm sure we'll get more into my backstory in a bit, but, I broke my back in my early 20s. So I went from not really understanding what pain was to having to get very close with it very quick. And not only did I have a terrible relationship with it, but I had no framework and no tools and no skill set for how to actually effectively manage it in healthy ways. Enter really bad coping mechanisms, right? So I had a really poor relationship with it for the majority of my life. And it wasn't until I started to look at my relationship with it that things actually fundamentally really started to change. So it's been really significant as of lately.
Mm,
So
yeah.
interesting. Sometimes we're forced to face it or sit in a room with it.
Yeah.
But I want to
Yeah.
help people prevent, but sometimes it really does come down to that moment where it's like reality check. Here it is.
Well, yeah, and you
Yeah.
can you can only run from it and use drugs to escape it and avoid it and distract yourself from it for so long. And those are survival mechanisms. And though they're helpful, you can really only be in survival mode for so long until you realize, oh, this isn't working. And you have to make a different game plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I will share a quick backstory with how I was introduced to pain, I would say. Lauren and I are both ballet dancers. And
Oh,
when
say
I
no
was,
more. Done.
whew,
Oh
I don't
my
know if
God.
I'm lucky I made it to 13 without many problems, but I was 13 or 14 and I landed a jump wrong or incorrectly. And I ended up with 2 stress fractures in my SI joint. And the answer was just take a year off of dance. But like you try and tell a 14-year-old that's like prepping to go to New York City for college that, and I just pushed through pain meds. Orthopedic surgeon said you have to fuse your spine. That's the only option. I didn't end up doing that. But I pushed through it and then I could barely walk. I got to the point where I could barely walk. And it was like, well, we told you to take a year off of dance and you didn't do it. So here, now you can't do anything. Um, so it was a pretty quick introduction to pain, I guess, kind of like your story. And I try and look at the bright side of it because, again, pain as a teacher, it led me down a different career path. I ended up going to college in Florida and meeting my husband that we've been together for 18 years. So I'm like, hey, it was all meant to be. If I can think of it that way, it's great. But it still sucked. The pain still sucked. And I'm still
Hmm.
trying to like discover how to create these like healthier movement patterns and mobility. And honestly, you two are the experts in this realm. So I'm going to learn a lot from both of you today about this. Um, but yeah, so the nervous system thing is really interesting because I definitely have noticed like when I'm in pain, I get brain fog, I get fatigued, and I think it's kind of what you said, like with the nervous system activation. So maybe if it's not too soon to jump into that, what's going on with the nervous system when we are in pain?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. There's there's a couple ways that we can break this down. And probably the easiest way is to look at there's acute pain, so immediate. Like if you literally go stub your toe, you have the alarm bells go off in your body. That's your nervous system saying, hey, something's going on here. Pay attention to it. And that pain gets your attention, as pain brilliantly does. And then you change the behavior. You learn from that thing. Okay, that piece of furniture hurts. So let me be more mindful next time I go around that. Well, hopefully you learn. So there's an acute reaction of pain, and then there is a chronic reaction of pain. And this is where things get really interesting for most people. I think the easiest way to explain this is an analogy of like a floodlight. If you've ever installed a floodlight in your house, right, you put it in the front yard, it has these little motion sensors. And when that circuitry is working well, something walks in front of the sensor and the floodlight turns on. It's doing exactly what it's designed to do. That is an acute response to pain. Something senses something, and then there's a reaction, an alert signal. When the nervous system works well, not only does that work well, but it also turns off once that signal, once that deer or animal has walked by that sensory system. But when we get exposed to pain for longer bouts of time, so outside of just initially stubbing your toe, when it's chronic back pain or hip pain or knee pain or inflammation, whatever it is, and your nervous system becomes so hypersensitive and dysregulated, going back to that floodlight analogy, maybe the wind blows and like a leaf blows across the path. But that sensory system is picking up, oh, there's a huge animal, there's an intruder, alert, alert, alert. Let's get the floodlights on. It becomes dysregulated, where even the most subtle thing feels like an alarm, stage 5, 911, 10 out of 10 pain. When the nervous system gets dysregulated, this is what moves us towards not only this chronic loop of what's called a cumulative injury cycle, where things become more sensitive, your threshold for pain lowers, which means even the subtlest of movements can make you feel like you're experiencing another flare up. But we also get the emotional fatigue. We also attach meaning to this pain. Anybody who is in chronic pain does not just feel a sensation and labels it as a sensation. We attach our story to it. We attach meaning to it. It becomes our identity. We become to own it. It becomes the thing that maybe doesn't let us be intimate with partners. Maybe it was the thing that took us out from playing with our kids. Whatever it means, we attach meaning to it. So not only do we have this dysregulated alarm system that is unfairly blaring at all times of the day, but we bring so much emotionality to it that we become like literally entangled with what we find. And now it's not just a nervous system thing. Now it's our mental state, our emotional state, our nervous system state, and our body state, our muscular health that are all like enmeshed and entangled in what feels like for so many people this never-ending cycle of doom.
Mm.
And that could be the whole
Oh,
episode. We could go, I mean, we could
yeah.
go really hard in that direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so powerful. And you're right. Once it's intertwined, it's like, where do we even begin to peel back the layers? It's so hard to find the root cause. And then there's so many variables on the table. Like, what is your nutritional health? What is your
Yeah.
relationship to stress? Are you sleeping? So yeah, I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of ways this conversation, but I would love to maybe rewind back to when you first really were faced with this. I mean, you were an athlete, so you
Mhm.
are no stranger to hard training and commitment. I'm sure like there's never been a time in your life when you weren't motivated, I'm assuming. Um, so we could kind of come in at the athletic perspective, but there's a lot of people in this audience that are just training to be healthy. But what's kind of the through line there? Or maybe you can just share from your own experience, like what was going on in your nervous system? What else was going on in your life that maybe was not being addressed, if you are open to sharing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, before I broke my back, I was an 8-time All-American Division I collegiate athlete. I had 30 plus Colorado State records, dozens of top 16 in the country titles. I kicked ass at being a swimmer. Nothing else. I could only swim. That's all I could do. Don't ask me to throw a football or a frisbee. Nothing on land, please. So I was no stranger to pain, but the difference is that was chosen pain. that was voluntary pain. I subscribed to that. I enrolled to that pain, and I knew greatness was on the other end of it. The more I could push myself and say yes to that short-term pain, the better I would be, and the more awards and accolades and records I had. Breaking my back was the first time I experienced involuntary pain. I didn't want this, and this was a show stopper. So I had no emotional fortitude. That no pain, no gain mentality, that mental fortitude that I developed as an athlete did nothing for me when breaking my back. If anything, it actually sent me down the worst path possible, which is to continually push and push and push. I came from the background of, like I shared, no pain, no gain. If it's not hard, you're getting nothing out of it. So how do you think I approached physical therapy? And how do you think I
More,
approach?
more,
Yeah,
more,
more,
More.
must be
harder.
more.
Give me all the
And
things.
yeah, and because I was feeling something so intense internally, I was looking for the external tool that matched that intensity. So when somebody said, "All right, Vin, we're going to lay down and we're going to breathe and we're going to calm down today," that's bullshit.
You're like, oh, screw you.
Yeah, this is a complete utter waste of my time, and I couldn't have been more wrong. So my entire upbringing of being this grind culture, push, no pain, no gain, go big or go home, was the stage that enabled me from basically not getting better for almost about 10 years, because I had to unlearn those really unhealthy coping mechanisms and undo that really unhealthy relationship with pain. I had to learn that, well, going hard and fighting this thing was only making it worse. And actually learning how to show compassion and empathy and kindness, this was a completely different territory for me. And finding calm, gentle, simple exercises that actually down-regulated the nervous system, that's where the answers were. But I refused, not only with my background, but also as a man, to, never show emotions, to push them down, never express these things. It's weakness. Don't be vulnerable. That was my healing journey. And that's what breaking my back led me on, because not only was I experiencing this back break, but I pushed away most of my relationships. I couldn't express that I needed help. I couldn't tell a partner that I was with that I don't want to see them because I'm in pain. I just pushed people away. So I was dealing with all of it. I was dealing with physical broken back. I was dealing with all this childhood trauma that didn't allow me to express myself, and the hurt that I was going through. I refused to be helped by those around me. It was literally a perfect storm for why I gave up my entire 20s of just being functionally disabled in pain. So there was a lot going on. And I also had a kid at that young age too, which was the least helpful thing for breaking a back, because now you got to focus on somebody else. So there was a lot going on at that point in my life that set me up to perpetuate this. Let me just numb it. Let me escape it. Let me not deal with it. Let me just ignore it and push it away and fight it. And it was only after that didn't work for such a long time that I realized there has to be a different approach to this. This isn't working, and it's not sustainable.
And were you doing, like, I know you mentioned PT, were you doing like chiropractic and massage, like the typical
Yeah,
therapy is? You were
yeah,
trying
I
all
threw the
those?
kitchen sink at it. I mean, anything, and I know sometimes I can be dramatic. I felt like I was doing everything. The
I
PT,
know that feeling.
chiro, acupuncture, massage, finding the gurus on Instagram, thinking that they're just going to heal you through Zoom, like all of it. I did it all. And
Yeah.
I found a lot of things that just didn't work for me.
And what was the turning point? Other than
Um,
just being like, this isn't working, I got to do something different. But what was the real eye opener for you?
yeah, so there were two turning points. The first turning point was I had run into this individual who saw me at a grocery store and saw that I was struggling. So this was somebody that I did not seek out for help. They saw me struggling to go get groceries. And they offered to give me a session because it looked like I really needed help. I went to go see this individual completely burned out. Like most people, you try so many things, they don't work. Not only do you lose hope, but your guard is up, you know? And I went to go see this individual who, for this entire physical therapy session, he didn't touch me. There was no manual manipulation. There was no challenge. He just asked me to lay on the ground and move my body into these little simple positions and just breathe. It wasn't hard. It was the opposite of it. It was like taking work out. And it was probably 60 to 90 minutes of doing nothing where I thought, this is a complete, utter waste of my time. Remember, it's not hard. It's not doing anything.
Yeah.
He didn't touch me. There was nothing magical, no aha moment. I stood up, just getting ready to be pissed and just leaving. Here we go. Here's another thing. And I remember standing up and, it wasn't a miracle, but it was like 5% better, 10% better. I could breathe without a sharp stabbing pain in my lower back. And I was so confused because we did nothing. Why did that work? And can I go do it on my own at home? Well, hell yeah, I could. So then I kind of had like a plan. It was like something to do to down-regulate my nervous system. It was the first thing that took me out of this sympathetic fight, flight, freeze, fight, 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 and let me actually get back into the body and relax these highly overactive, irritated nerves. So that was the first little turning point, was this therapy that didn't use the power of force. There was nothing to push through. It was actually just about calming down your body and putting the left side of the body in the same position as the right side, reducing this tug of war, this muscular tension that had developed from me moving so poorly for so many years. So that was the first step that helped me move in a different direction. But even then, maybe 10%, 20% better after years of doing that. I was okay. I was by no means healed. I was by no means pain-free, but I at least kind of learned a little bit of how to take the edge off, but I still couldn't do anything. Working sucked. Playing with my son sucked. Intimacy was off the table. And it wasn't until one of my clients who offered me a massage therapy session. And she's doing her normal work. She was also a Reiki practitioner, something I knew nothing about. And without knowing my story, she just puts her hand on my lower back. And she's like, okay, there's a lot going on here. I want you to repeat after me. I love you. Like, this is the weirdest massage I've ever been in. I love you. What are you talking about? She's like, just say it. I love you. So I repeated that. And she said, I'm sorry. Repeat that. Please forgive me and thank you. This is an ancient healing practice of these 4 phrases. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. She barely even touched me in the massage, but she made me repeat these words over and over. And something that day really interesting started to happen. I started to get really confused because as I was saying, I love you, I didn't know who I was saying that to. It was like I was speaking out, I was saying those words, waiting for an answer to come back to me. And I didn't love me. I didn't really love anything. When I was saying thank you, I wasn't really thankful for anything in my life. When I was saying I'm sorry and please forgive me, these words were just empty. They meant nothing to me. There was nothing attached to these words. But as I kept saying them over and over, this really weird thing started to happen with my body, which is it was a subtle shift from I hate you to thank you. I took those 4 phrases back to that movement therapy that maybe only gave me 10 to 20% of pain relief. And I started to reverberate those 4 phrases doing the exercises that normally hurt. And what I realized was doing simple exercises, I was still holding on to this, let's grit your teeth, let's clench your jaw, hold your breath, and let's just, if I can only get higher on my bridge, if I can just get this joint to pop or twist, I was still fighting my nervous system, even after years of learning how to downregulate it. When it came time to move, I was going to battle. I was going to war. I was anticipating pain. I was bracing myself. I was expecting it to be there. And it wasn't until I started to change the way I was talking to myself, I was basically learning how to parent myself again, that the exercises that kind of didn't really work were now the exercises that set me free from the problem because of how I was communicating to my body. And this goes right back to the start of this. What is your relationship with pain? I had a really bad relationship with pain, and I didn't know that. If you would have told me 5 years into my healing journey, hey, then it's the way that it's your relationship with pain that's a problem, I would have flipped you off. My back's broken. What the hell are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yet,
Mm-hmm.
as I'm on the ground, thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I started to learn how to work with my nervous system, not against it. I was no longer fighting it. I was no longer trying to numb it and push through, avoid it, or escape it. I was sitting with it. And I was learning how to, with words, change my experience with it. And that was really the first time in my life that I had ever had this, oh, pain's actually really helpful. It's just communicating to me. It's how I was placing attention on it that was creating so much damn suffering that was just needless.
Mm.
So it was those two things. It was me learning a completely different style of working with my body that I now teach other people. And it was me learning how to build a framework of how to approach all of these unwanted sensations that I was experiencing all day long. Those two
Mm.
things had to happen
Wow.
in that order.
It's
Thank you for
powerful.
sharing that.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was long-winded. Thanks for listening to that.
No, it's
No,
important to hear the entire colored experience, because I think we can all think of a time where we were working against our pain, whether it was like a really acute, dramatic back pain injury, or it could
hmm
just be like low level something that we're like fighting every single day. I think we can all think of a time. And you make such an interesting point about working with it. And I think our society and culture really conditions us to work against. It's
hmm
like this masculine framework. And we think about against, like antagonistic to, in the body, we have all of these balancing mechanisms. So if we're against it, there's going to be something on the other side of that trying to keep us in balance. So
Yeah.
it actually seems a little bit idiotic to even think that we would ever work against something, because our bodies are smarter than we could ever be.
Your body is brilliant. It's
Mm.
brilliant. And when you fight it, one of you is going to lose, which means
Yeah.
both of you lose every
Yeah.
damn time. And it was when I had that realization that no wonder why I'm losing. I'm waging war on myself. One of us is going to reap the consequences. And that's
Mm.
exactly what was happening. So learning how to actually allow pain and make room for it and invite it in instead of try to like stand in front of it and resist it with all of your might, on a central nervous system level, it makes a phenomenal difference with how your body actually responds to any treatment method you're doing. Any.
Mm-hmm. So
Oh,
important.
yeah.
And I just want you to like keep reiterating this, because I'm sure everyone, if they're up against this, they're going to have the same experience. Like, no, no, like this is kind of bullshit. Saying I love
hmm
you, thank you, doing less, even if we theoretically understand it, it's still going to be a practice behavior. So, what are some tips you can share with our audience about dropping into? I mean, we could call it like a prevention medicine, preventative perspective, or it could just be kind of daily things to support the nervous system. So this is not a war when we really need to, I'll just say, fix something.
Yeah, it's a really good call out. So, you know, it's really easy to say, oh, love yourself more and show a little bit of kindness and empathy, and that'll get you there.
Yeah.
No, when you're in a flare up,
No.
obviously, I mean, not obvious, that's what's going to help, but none of that makes sense. In the same way that if you were 5 years after my injury saying, hey, Vin, just show yourself a little bit of self love, I would have flipped you off. No way.
Mhm.
That doesn't
Mhm.
work. I love myself plenty. I'm fine. Fix the damn pain. Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I tell my story in that way for a very specific reason. Notice how I already had the tools to down regulate the nervous system and then learn how to work with the nervous system better. You can't just self-love your way out of it.
Mhm.
You've got to be able to take that edge off and get a little bit of breathing room, a little bit of space. I'm going to give you a really good example. I threw my back out in January. I'm training for ultra marathons now. Did something really stupid. You know, sometimes you just got to do it. And all of my training went out the window. Nerve pain pierces it all. Like you will go back to your fundamental relationship with pain. And self-love wasn't easy in that moment. It's like I forgot who I was and what I've been through. You first have to learn how to downregulate the signal. And for those people out there, there are really, I don't want to say easy, but I want to say very simple tools that you can use. I have them all available on my website for free. So if you're having any issue with an ankle, a knee, a hip, pelvis, lower back, mid back, neck, or shoulders, any of the main load joint areas, I put together free routines to just start to tame the nervous system response. Let's first get a little bit of breathing room with gentle, simple positions that you can put your body in that have the highest level of support. Because once we can get a little bit of that edge off, then we can get to work and not only rebuild your relationship with pain, but actually give you the physiological tools to make a difference. But let me make that a little bit more real for you. You laying on your back with your legs over a chair. So think about you're in the middle of your living room, you've got a couch, both legs are over that chair, your hips and knees are at 90 degrees. That is a high support position. Your body isn't fighting gravity. There's very minimal tension in your body because the couch and the floor is supporting the entirety of you. Your center of gravity is spread throughout your entire body versus like in a chair where most of your weight is just on your hips, or when you're standing, most of your weight is on your feet, right? So most people in chronic pain feel the most uncomfortable standing because there's the least base of support. Your entire body weight is being propped up by just the underside of your feet. Well, when you sit down, it's a little bit more support. Now you've got your feet and your hips on a chair. Laying down on your back with your legs over an object puts your entire body weight supported by the ground and other surfaces. Spending 5, 10, 15, or 20 minutes there, it can do a great job at kind of hitting the nervous system reset by just no movement, no activity. Let me just get some breathing room back. Some people are going to feel an immediate, oh my God, this is the first time today I've been able to relax. Other people, if the dysfunction is that severe, it literally might take you 10 to 15 minutes to even start noticing the nervous system calm down. So that's one example. It's a simple position. You don't need any expensive equipment in. It's always available for you at any point in the day that you can do to just give your body a little bit of that edge taken off breathing room.
Yeah, so great. And
all
we
need
all
that.
need more excuses to stop what we're doing and do a little bit less in our day. But it's so hard. So hard to take the time out. But yeah, that's a good one. It feels really good.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm going to go do that after this podcast.
You're like, I'm going right now.
Yeah,
I'm gonna bring
can I
my
podcast
mic.
like that?
I'm going to bring my mic down to the floor for a minute. Yeah. Yeah. Cause
Yeah.
I'm like, right now, I'm like, I have this like weird pain up here and it's the worst when I sit. Probably because my posture's bad too. But actually interesting question about when you do have pain somewhere from like a tight muscle, how do you know when you should go after that with like the foam roller, the lacrosse ball or something? Or like, is that just your body saying like, I'm compensating for something else that you're supposed to look at? Like, how do you
Most
know?
most of the times, it's a reaction. Most of the time, the thing that has your attention is not the problem. It
Uh,
is your body's solution to a different problem. Okay,
mm,
so let's talk about that. Right now, right shoulder sitting a little lower. There's this tension, there's this aching. You're like, what are you talking about? Not me.
Oh yeah, I mean, when I'm in the gym, I'm doing like shoulder presses or bicep curls, I can see my shoulders are not at the same level.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
okay, great. So
I'm
let's talk
aware.
about this. Shoulders are unaligned or mislevel, right? They're not holding the same position. Now, you might have, after days, weeks, months, or years of that, you might really start to feel this muscle mass that's in balance up top. One shoulder is being held lower, which means these muscles are longer on one side. And because they're longer, it's harder for them to contract, right? They're kind of
Mm,
losing their contractibility, which is why the nervous system tries to bring tension because it doesn't want them to go even longer. So think about this. This
okay.
right shoulder tension is there because the shoulders are unlevel. Now, if you view that right shoulder tension as the problem, you are going to go on a internet-wide hunt of how do I stretch this out?
Ah,
Foam roller, what do I do? I need somebody to just adjust my neck. You're placing attention on the symptom. What if your body's brilliant? What if
mm,
your body says, I'm creating this to provide this woman support in the neck because of the mislevel shoulders? This is now elongating too much for me to generate force properly. So, me, the nervous system, who's brilliant, is going to create extra tension. But because of how of a society we view pain, we view that tension as the problem, and you go to stretch the living hell out of it. You're destabilizing how your nervous system is trying to solve this problem. You could go get a foam roller on there. You could go get a lacrosse ball. You relax it. You open it up. Great. Probably emotionally, it's going to feel immediately better. You're going
for a
after the
little bit.
issue.
For a
Yeah,
little
for a
bit.
little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe physiologically, it could actually feel like, oh my God, that was just what I needed all day. Thank you, Lord, for inventing a foam roller, right?
Yeah.
That's cool too.
Yeah.
But what happens tomorrow and the next day? It comes back
Mhm.
because we are solving the reaction, not the actual root cause. So you ask a great question. Well, how do we know? Ultimately, you're not going to know ahead of time, but your approach will show you. If you go do something, if you go foam roll a tight muscle, if you go stretch it out, and the next day it tightens up, chances are you're going after the reaction. If you're
Mm,
not making progress daily, chances are you're just scratching the surface trying to manage the symptom of it.
Mhm.
However, if you go after more of a root cause, like most likely an unlevel shoulder, it's not like the shoulders are in two different positions, yet the hips and the pelvis and the knees and the ankles are structurally sound. Our shoulders sit on top of our ankles, knees, and hips. So if we are having a loading issue, if one hip can rotate better than the other, if one hip can flex or extend better than the other, we are going to find that problem reverberates upwards with a trunk that is mislevel, it's offset, maybe it's rotated clockwise or counterclockwise. Because we're biped, your upper body reacts to what your lower body's doing. We see this all the time in a gait cycle. Your upper body is moving to counterbalance your lower body. So if there's an issue in the upper body, that's your brilliant nervous system trying to counterbalance a lower body problem. Do we go after the neck? Well, we can. Maybe that's the easiest thing for you to go resolve because it's immediate. You feel like it's immediately resolving the area. But if it's not really changing in meaningful ways, we're just attacking your body's response, not why your body is responding. Does that make sense?
That was a brilliant explanation. It makes perfect sense.
We did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very clear
Thank you for
distinction.
that. Yeah.
And I
And
have
it-
a great example of just that. When I run, my shoulder often flares up or hurts.
Mhm.
And I've learned now it actually has nothing little to do with my shoulder. It's my gait pattern. And I discovered an imbalance in my abdominals reacting and trying to stabilize my trunk when I'm running. But for so long, I was like, lacrosse ball, crank it out, massage gun all the time, stretching. And I think this extends from our history as dancers. We are taught to stretch all the time. And so we're patterned. And I think a lot of people are patterned to stretch something that hurts because we don't know any better. And I think, and I love to hear your opinion on this, but a lot of times we just need maybe an isometric just to activate it. Or we do need to look at maybe the other side of the body. When my right shoulder hurts, I've learned through every massage in my lifetime, I go, oh, get into the right shoulder. And they're like, but your left is really tight. I'm like, yeah, right. Thank you. So
Yeah. So
considering the opposing forces, but also maybe like activating it and not being afraid to activate it, even though we're getting sensations there.
well, this goes right back into how you assign words on sensations. Your body can't sit down with you and say, hey, Lauren, listen up. This side is experiencing this because it's long, or it's tight, or it's weak, or it's loose. Your body just communicates with sensation.
Mm-hmm.
Based on your development as a kid, the sports you played, your understanding of the body, this all assigns language to sensation. Most people feel tight, or most people will feel a sensation. They'll put that categorically under that's stiff, it's tight.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you do when that's the word? You then counter that word. Let me go loosen it. Let me go stretch it. The words that you place on your body determine your path forward. And it's only when you can play around with, does that sensation really mean what I think it means? Does a flare up mean stop? Or does a flare up mean I don't have much movement in my body? I haven't moved I haven't moved in days. I kind of eat really bad. Is that what a flare up means? Or is it because you pushed your body so hard that you injured yourself sneezing? Like, what is going on in your body? What is the language that we're assigning
that.
all of these sensations? Yeah, right.
I
What is the
woke up-
language that we're assigning
I
it?
woke up one
Yeah.
morning and I'm laying on my back in bed and I literally sneezed and pulled my neck out. I was like, how old are you?
Like, that's so funny. I just had a friend recently say, like, you know, you're getting old when you sneeze and things hurt. It's like, oh
Yeah.
man.
And then
We're
they ask
not
you like,
old.
well, how'd you injure your neck? It's like, I sneezed.
I sneezed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So embarrassing.
And then you got to like make up some big story to not admit that a sneeze is what took you out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So going back to what you were saying, it's this is where we have to be a little bit of a scientist with our body. We got to play, we got to explore. Does the right shoulder for Renee, is that a call towards obliterating that with lacrosse balls and foam rollers? Or is that a call to look at what the right hip's not doing? These tight, sore muscles, is that a call to stretching? Or is that actually a call to light, gentle mobility work? What is going to give you the biggest bang for your buck in terms of return? And in a world where we are all trying to biohack and optimize, we have to really pay attention to, do these signals mean what we think they mean? And can I actually playfully, with structure, try different things to see if I'm right or if I've been missing the mark?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Put it to the challenge and be curious,
Yeah.
which is always a good perspective to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most, you know, it's really amazing the kind of punishment that the human body can endure and that it can survive. And so when we have people who don't really move their bodies a lot and they're injured all the time, it's not a call to rest and relax and take time off. Most pain and injuries in a sedentary body is your body trying to say, things are not sound. We need to fortify. We need structure. We need muscle tone. We need neuromuscular communication. Our body is starved of strength and motion. It's not a call towards, let me just rest and take time off for most people. Unless you really are an endurance athlete, maybe rest is a good choice.
Right. That's a
Yeah.
different situation. So,
Yeah.
so where does the average person start? Because I would imagine most people are dealing with some kind of pain on a daily basis,
Yeah.
right? I
Let
mean,
me,
are there people that are completely pain free? Like, I don't,
Email
I've
us
seen it.
immediately.
yeah.
Yeah,
Who are you?
I've seen it, and what I've seen is people who are really good at avoiding movement. So, for example, the person who's pain-free, they also don't squat, they don't hurt, but they don't squat,
Oh,
right? So it's
yeah.
kind of like this shell of, with the movements that they do, there's no experience pain in this finite world of controlled motions, right? If they live their life in a box where they don't need to do a lot of overhead, they don't train, they don't push their body, they don't develop larger movement capacity, mobility, functionality. If they're never reaching outside that box, yeah, you can probably get pretty comfortable in a small box of motion. If your day is to just sit and minimal physical requirement, I have to imagine for many people, there is a period of time in which you're not really going to feel a lot of discomfort until you do, right? Until the body and system atrophies so much to now basic tasks are incredibly painful. They're exposing the body to simple things like just cleaning. This is the story of most people. They don't really have an issue until they go to reach their luggage out of an overhead bin on an airplane. They don't really have an issue until they need to do a spring deep cleaning of their house that all of a sudden requires motion outside of this box. And then it's just boom, it's a massive life-changing injury for many people.
Yeah.
Here's if people pull one thing from this podcast, from me, I want it to be this. And I think this will fundamentally change your life and change your approach with whatever problem that you're trying to solve. This is where you start if you're a beginner or even if you're advanced. Before you go chasing specifics, master the basics first. I'm going to repeat that again. Before you look for specifics, master the basics first. Here's what this means. I'm going to give you a sport analogy and then I'll give you a more available analogy. If you're a golfer that wants to improve your golf swing, that's a specific thing. You can go look for specific drills to give you an outcome in a very niche, specific movement. But one of the reasons why your swing is probably poor, why you even need to go look for a specific solution, is you've lost core and trunk stability. You've lost the ability to generate power from the ground up and translate that into a swing. What I'm talking about is the basics of movement. Are you able to rotate to the left the same as you can rotate to the right? Well, most people lose that ability. So your golf swing is going to be inhibited because you can't wind up and you can't follow through. Your basic function has been lost, which is why you're going to go look for specific tools. For me, back pain was a significant problem. I was on the hunt for a specific solution, yet I couldn't stand on my left leg, not nearly the same as I could stand on my right leg. That's a basic thing. Before you go on that look for the needle in the haystack for your hyper specific problem to solve your shoulder or frozen shoulder, let's get the basic fundamentals of movement. Can your ankles move like ankles again? Can your knee bend and rotate and extend? Can your hips be hips again? Does your pelvis move? Can your spine bend and extend and lean left and right? Can your shoulder reach overhead and behind you, out to the side? Can we abduct, adduct? We're talking basic planes of motion that you don't need to be some gymnast to do, but you need to be a human being to do this. Most people are looking for specific solutions, unique specific solutions, because of how they've lost their basic function uniquely. How your right ankle does no longer move like your left ankle does has given rise for why your knees and hips probably feel really wonky when we're walking, which then makes you have back pain or unresolved shoulder issues. And if you go thinking that the part that's in pain is the problem, you're going to look for specific shoulder exercises. Yet the only reason why your shoulder's feeling the way it does is because you've lost basic motion. What I put together with my business is an online program that is about basics before specifics. Before you go shell out tens of thousands of dollars and go spend years doing rehabilitative therapy, acutely focusing on an area of the body, let's get the right side to move like the left. Let's get the muscles in the front of the body to work synergistically like a team with the muscles in the back of the body. Let's not go master pigeon pose and do all these sexy, cool, flashy movements. Let's give you the minimum joint motion that you need as a human being to walk and have an effective gait. Let's give you the minimum mobility to bend forward functionally and to squat and to stand. And then let's watch what happens to your need to solve for specific solutions. Most people will find that by focusing on the basics, most people will tune out a lot of those hyper specific, unique problems that nobody's been able to help them with because they can just move again. Master the basics before specifics, and I think your world will change.
I think so. I think so. What I really love about this is that those basics, I think, can be the diagnostic and the therapy all in one.
Yeah.
And then, like, maybe you still do your acupuncture, your chiropractic, maybe you still do go see the specialist, but we have that foundation first, and you can learn so much, just as you were kind of demonstrating, just abduction, adduction, just lateral bending. You're going to know if you bend to one side and the other side gets a little junky and tight.
Yeah.
So, like, it's beautiful, gentle information.
And it's every single exercise is a test, and every test is an exercise. So like when you come to me for help, I'm not going to razzle and dazzle you with complicated things. No, I'm going to have you lay on the ground. Does your right hip move like your left? What's the difference? And what do you think that has to do with your chronic shoulder and neck issue? Does your right knee move like the left? What do you think that has to do with your right-sided plantar fasciitis that nobody's been able to resolve after thousands of dollars of podiatrists and foot treatment? The answers are in making things actually quite simple. And this, unfortunately, foundation work isn't sexy. It doesn't sell. We want the cool, like crazy, complicated, solutions out there. We want to go to the gym and be strong. We can't squat, but we start doing weighted leg press. We start strengthening dysfunction. It just doesn't make sense. And it's only when you do that for so long and you continually get burned out, you continually run into the same injury. It's like Groundhog's Day that eventually you hopefully ask yourself, is this working? And how can I find a different way to do this?
I love what you said about we think we're going to the gym to get strong, but we're strengthening dysfunction. Like, just repeat that a few times in your head.
Yeah, I think even Paul Chek in one of his many great posts, I think he even talks about like one of the biggest mistakes people make is they're taking these already extremely stressed out bodies and they're adding more stress on top of them with working out. And we're becoming, our workouts are making us weak because we're not actually having a proper foundation of healthy, strong, functional movement that is then strengthened. We're just adding more crap on top of more crap. And then we think it's a motivation that we like, oh, we're just not motivated or inspired. No, it's because eventually working out doesn't feel good and it's hard. And the last thing you're going to want to do is go get really consistent when it feels like crap after your workouts and it takes days to recover. you have to learn the basic fundamentals of movement. And you don't need to be a rocket scientist. You don't need to be a corrective exercise specialist. You got to be a specialist with your body, and you got to know how to move it a little bit before you go push it and really get into the realm of performance.
Yeah, I've actually been thinking about this lately with like I've gotten back into running in the last couple of years. I mean, I couldn't run for 15 years because of my back injury, and I'm getting faster, but I'm watching my shoulders in the mirror and I'm like, am I learning how to run at this with this dysfunction? Am I getting better at running with this dysfunction where
Yeah.
if I fix this, well, one, running would probably be easier.
Mm-hmm.
But I would almost have to like retrain. So that's all interesting. And we always say basics before biohacks. So here we go. Basics before specifics.
Okay.
Same
Now we
thing.
got 3 experts saying the same thing.
Right in
Yeah.
line.
Because like
Yeah.
we love all the biohacking tech and gadgets. It's fabulous. But if you're eating crap and you're not sleeping and you're not moving your body, stop buying the $1,000 red light therapy or what do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the basics. I love that you say that. It's so essential.
Yeah. And when people, I think obviously because I went from this, elite athlete, broke my back, did nothing with my life meaningful for 10 years physically. And now I'm training for ultra marathons and I'm like traveling the world doing these cool events. I think I'm attracting a lot of either runners or people who want to start running. And when people reach out and they're like, hey, how do I start training for a marathon? My first question is, do you want this to be your last? Or do you want to do this for the next 15, 20, 30, 40 years? Because how you approach this determines your longevity to it. I think anybody could do it with a training plan, but if we're going to go run and strengthen the already existing dysfunction, we're probably not going to get a lot of marathons out of the body. But if we can use running as a stimulus to help show your body how to move better, your first marathon's not going to be fast, but your second one will be better. Your fifth one's going to be even better. And your 20th one's going to be badass. So it all depends on how do we want to approach this and when do we want to start adding stress to our foundation? What is our foundation? And can we make that better?
Yeah. I love
That's
that
a
you
great
address
point.
like the bio individual goal or need. We're all different. So it's like, sure, we can value that or we can value this. So like whatever is right and real for you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a friend who wanted to run a 3-hour marathon as like his first one. We got him there,
Oh.
but he's not running anymore.
That one
So
and done. I would
it was
assume.
it was a
Yeah.
heroic, hey, it was heroic effort.
Check. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
heroic. And it was one and done. And now it's years of rehabilitating what he put his body through.
Yeah. I think about that a lot with people that run marathon. I'm not a marathon runner. I like to run, but I don't do more than, I live in the 5K world.
Same.
I'm always curious if people really
3
are thinking
miles.
about their longevity when they're running.
No. I just don't think many are, because I definitely wasn't. And working with people who were elite, top in the world, ultra marathon runners, and just seeing how decayed their body is, which is counterintuitive because here's somebody, their nutrition's dialed in. They spend more time in the aerobic zone than anybody else, and their body's falling apart. They took the unsustainable route to get to where they are. So it's a process. Everybody's on this journey. That's for sure.
We all get to choose, right?
Yeah.
We all get to
It's just
choose.
getting clear on what we're choosing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, so much wisdom. I wanted to pick your brain about maybe one more thing before we wrap up, because I think there's a little bit of debate out there about what posture is and what posture should be. Coming from the ballet world, we were trained to be very erect in our spine, so kind of losing that natural curvature. And now I think there's kind of an overcorrection in the world where it's like, oh my gosh, if you're slumping over, you have to roll your shoulders back and you have to stand tall and you have to pull your shoulder blades together. But posture is more of a behavior. It's not a static position. So I just want to hear kind of your perspective on posture for the individual, and how do we know if it's right for us? And like for me, I know that in my thoracic spine, I have to actually relax a little bit and let go of some of that ballet tension that I had for so long.
Yeah. So first of all, to understand posture, we have to understand the emotional side of things. So most of us are taught posture at a young age as to what's proper, what's right, or
Mm-hmm.
what's attractive. We learn to hold our body in certain positions. Men and women, sometimes the same, sometimes a little different, depending on physical attributes. We hold ourselves in different ways to be seen, to get attention, to get noticed. Some of us have a really bad correlation to posture. Like when I learned how to play piano, I'd get my hand slapped, sit up, sit up, sit up. So my orientation to posture was it's something that you have to be in, and being out of it is bad. It's ugly. It's not attractive.
Mm-hmm.
And then fast forward, breaking my back, one of the credentials I have is a posture alignment specialist. So I went to the textbooks. Everything has to be nice and perfect and even, sit tall. Oh my God, is that exhausting?
I was gonna say that sounds exhausting. That's
What did
exactly the
human
word.
beings do for hundreds of thousands of years without a posture therapist?
Yeah.
Were
How
we
did
all
we survive?
screwed? How did we survive the plains not knowing what position our shoulders should be in? Posture is simply this. Posture is position. It is every position that your body moves into is posture. There is no such thing as bad posture except for the positions that we cannot get into or get out of. So bad posture is not sitting upright, it's not hunched over. If you're hunched over and cannot get out of that, that's bad posture. You've lost the ability to change positions. I
Mhm.
right now am sitting in a squat hunched over. This is not bad posture. This
Have
is
you been
what
Been
in
in
that
a
makes,
squat.
squat this whole time?
yeah,
That's cool.
You guys are
yeah,
going to be best friends. I know it.
yeah.
I love that.
Real side note, there was a study done that showed the muscle activation standing is the same level of muscle activation sitting in the bottom of a squat when the neuromuscular system is healthy. Most Westerners get into a squat, they either can't get into it or it's so much work that to think a squat should be as easy as standing is like a foreign concept because we
Yeah.
don't squat anymore. But
Mhm.
Yeah,
that's a tangent maybe for round 2 of this podcast.
it's great.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
I love a good
So
squat.
yeah, so posture is it's created a lot of problems with people because what it's done is it's made us think that we can outthink movement problems.
Yeah,
There,
like if I just stand taller, I'll be okay.
yeah, if I just, my back pain is because I'm hunched over, so let me force it upright. You have to understand your nervous system is brilliant. If you're slouching, it's the outcome of how all of your nerves and muscles at that moment are working together. So if that's what's natural to you, and now some human being has said that's ugly or bad, or that's why you're in pain, sit up straight, shoulders back. Okay, you have to understand you've just overridden your natural function into a force facilitated function. One of two things is going to happen. Either number one, it's going to be so much freaking work, you cannot stay in there for long. And if you are overriding your natural position, you have to understand that if your default is to slouch and now you are consciously overriding your motion, if your body could naturally sit up straight, it would. So now that you're overthinking this, what is your body doing to overcome that? Is your lower back going to work 5 times harder now because you're missing natural mechanisms in your hips to keep you upright? If being upright is not natural
Mm.
and you are now forcing upright, how did you just do that? What did you just ask to work 10 times harder than it should? Because you're trying to outthink your movement problem.
Mhm.
It's putting so many rules on movement that no wonder why everybody's confused. Tuck this, brace this, fold this, pull this back, do that. Oh my God. No wonder why people hate exercise now and have a
Mhm.
really bad relationship because we don't know what to do. I think of it like this. If this was a life or death situation, if all three of us needed to run away from danger, Lauren, would you first engage the transverse and brace the core and pull the shoulders back? Renee, would you stand sturdy on both feet with both feet pointing straight, and then we'd all decide to move out of harm's way? No, we would move. We would move.
Mhm.
We'd get out of way. Movement should be natural. And when you train movement to be unnatural, shoulders this, do this, when you're always form correcting, you're not actually training fluid motion anymore. And this is maybe a conversation for a different time. It's one of the problems that a lot of trainers I don't think understand. When somebody's coming into the gym and they've got bad form, most people in fitness think that form needs to be corrected. That form is your body's solution to your movement impairment. If you just pull shoulders back and sit up taller, you're adding on layers of compensation to a faulty foundation. How long can you do that before things feel like shit? At what weight, at what volume, at what intensity are you going to have an injury at? Because your baseline foundation is not good form. So this world of posture of there's vilifying a good position, vilifying a bad position, trying to make an idealistic good position is furthering us to try to outthink movement problems. We move the way we train. And when we train all rigid and stiff, no wonder why our movement is rigid and stiff. If you train to have fluid motion where you're not trying to hold and pin and pull and retract, you're going to move way more fluidly and with more comfort. Posture is great for establishing guidelines, but it is not the rule. It should not dominate your world and your training. So let me make this just a little bit more real. If you're slouching at a desk and your body is completely, utterly lacking posterior support to hold you upright in a balanced position, imagine learning 2 or 3 exercises you could do at work, like simple, whether it's just sitting arm circles. Let me get these shoulders a little bit more active and supportive. And then going back to a relaxed position, you're going to notice you're naturally more upright because your body has better baseline function. We have to look at people's posture as not the thing to be fixed. People's posture is the outcome of how their nervous system's working. Let's design a little training program to improve how their body's moving so they naturally sit upright without effort, without thought, without control or force. Let's restore people's motion so they don't need somebody in the gym overriding their bad form. Their hips and knees and ankles and shoulders work when they need to work. We have to really unlearn all of these wild theories on posture that have entered the mainstream.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
End
I
scene.
think that end scene, cut, we're done. I think it's so similar to breathing patterns as well. Like a lot of people feel like, oh, your respiratory pattern is dysregulated. You have to do these breath work exercises and it'll fix it. But breath is a behavior, same as posture is a behavior, movement is a behavior. And we're kind of missing the point here. So
we're missing the point entirely.
yeah. Well, thank you
Yeah.
for clarifying that. I didn't mean to pigeonhole you into a PSA, but I believe that's where you were going to go. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad
yeah,
you did because that was really interesting. I've never heard of it in that realm. So
great. Yeah, I think if we can, and this is coming from a certified posture therapist, that's one of the things that I've really had to break my understanding on, because I've gotten people in perfect posture and their pain stayed the same. Posture is just a point of time. It's how you create that posture that makes it either work for you or not. Sitting up straight can be accomplished through the hips or it can be accomplished through the spine and the shoulders. So just assuming a certain position doesn't mean neuromuscularly that you achieve that in an optimal way. You're just kind of masking crap on top of crap. And that's why we go back to the position that feels comfortable, because good posture doesn't feel comfortable.
Yeah. Thank you for
All those,
clarifying that.
all those years of ballet.
I know.
And people have
Now I
always
just
been
let my body go like that. And I had
Yeah.
someone at a health conference. They were like, that's bad posture. Stand up straight. And I was like, screw you, lady.
yeah.
It's a lot to unlearn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off, Renee. Go ahead.
My whole life I've gotten compliments that I have great posture from all the years of ballet, but I'm like, but I've also had years of
Thank you.
chronic pain. So
Yeah.
different mindset on that. So
Yeah, and I think what further divides is the studies on it. You know, it's really hard to understand posture and pain because, Renee, you're a really good example of that. You might have idealistic sagittal curves and you might have idealistic posture, but that doesn't mean when it comes time to move, the nerves and the muscles are all doing it in a really beautiful synergistic way. Somebody could have great posture in a static standing position, and then when it comes time to move, like the wheels of the wagon fall off. Other people are different. Other people will like literally sit hunched over, yet can execute a beautiful, flawless deadlift or overhead squat. And this is what has further made this massive divide, because joint position is important in that it reveals the state and health of the neuromuscular system, but it isn't indicative of pain levels. It's neuromuscular, it's motor recruitment patterns, how the nerves then recruit those muscles for movement. That's what dictates a lot of people's chronic pain issues, which is why just putting the joint in a certain position, it doesn't change how they feel.
yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Makes so much sense.
Thank you, Vinny. I learned a lot. I'm sure our audience learned a lot from you today. Thank you. Thank you. One final question for you, though. Can you leave our audience with a piece of advice, something they should start doing today to optimize their health?
I always struggle with that because there's so much that can be done.
And it can be related to everything we just talked about, or can be totally random, whatever you want to do.
Podcast from a squat.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Squat more. Yeah.
just squat more. Do your emails in a squat. Yeah, I think for me we're gonna go back to what I shared earlier, which is spend 5-10 minutes a day laying on your back with your legs over a couch or a chair. Just start there. It's a low effort position. It doesn't require you to actively do anything or manage anything. Spend 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, just reconnecting with what the hell is happening with your body. Does the left side have the same pressure on the ground as the right side? Does the pelvis feel heavier or the shoulders feel heavier? Does one calf feel heavier? Just do these like little tune-ins, these little check-ins with your body to try to reconnect with what's really happening here. And there's going to be a world of what you get to learn. You get to learn a lot about, are you a person that can actually hit the pause button in your life and take a moment for yourself? Are you able to set boundaries with family and friends that I need me time? Like, your ability to just lay down on the ground can show you so much about who you are as a person. But start there. Before we can move better, we actually have to learn how to rest intelligently. We have to learn how to be idle before we can learn how to move. So practice being idle first.
That's great. I love that. Thank you.
I'm going to go do that right now.
Working in versus working out.
Yeah.
Do more of the
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great advice.
Can you tell our audience where they can find more of you and how to access the program?
Yeah, so you can find me on most social channels, just at Pain Academy. You can access my program at painacademy.net. But I need you to feel it first. I don't even want you to believe anything that I've said. Go try one of those routines. Just spend 20, 30, like, let me just walk you through really gentle, simple motions. And what I want you to do is to just pay attention. What is your body experiencing? Asking these really gentle, simple things to happen. And if you don't feel good, if movement doesn't feel good, if your body, if you feel like it's kind of holding you back from doing things, I have such a high level of certainty that what you experience within that routine is going to show you why you feel the way you feel. Just try it.
Powerful.
Awesome.
Okay. I'm excited to experiment with
Me
myself.
too.
Yeah.
Cool. Both of you
Cool.
try. Report back. Let me know how it goes.
Definitely
Oh
will.
yeah,
Definitely
we
will.
will.
Awesome.
All right. So if you're listening, you can scroll down in the show notes to get those links. And Vinny, thank you so much. We're so grateful that you shared this time with us all while in a squat. I can't believe that we almost went the whole podcast without that being revealed. You're awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great rest
Yes.
of your day. Okay.
Thank you. And thanks to everyone that tuned in today. We'll see you next time.